Okay, hi folks, Alex Forrest vlogging to you today. Date 12 is the touchstone for this particular vlog, and the topic is boyfriends. Has she got one? Does that affect the way that you approach the dating sequence with that girl? Or it's a scale, isn't it? Married, with children, relationship, maybe a kid, boyfriend, long-term boyfriend, every girl has attractive girl has a boyfriend orbiting in the background somewhere. So, the two questions really are that I'm going to address today, this afternoon, is number one, is there a kind of an ethical issue? I think it is important to close with the ethics of things, obviously. And the second question is, what about the practicalities of it? Should you approach a girl differently if she is in one of those categories? The first issue is a bit of an ethical one, as I say. Do you date a girl married, long-term relationship with kids, boyfriend? And I think this is quite a kind of difficult issue to close with, to address. I think it's an ethical issue, obviously, because do you really think it is right to be dating and sleeping with a married woman, for example, with kids? Now, first blush, I'm like, oh no, that's out. And indeed, with the dates and the girls in my books where they were married, where I discovered, I can remember at least one, if not two occasions where I didn't go forward because I didn't want to get involved with a married girl. But I'm not sure that everyone's got the same ethical standard, and I'm not sure I want to apply my ethical standards to other people. There was a time when I did, I thought, oh, that's wrong. I now don't see the world in those black and white terms. What I do see is that probably for its own sake of self-preservation, society and religion to a lesser or greater extent has created a set of rules and set of boundaries upon which you must not tread. It creates a lot of complications because, people aren't allowed in their own minds to do certain things, and they feel guilt and remorse and all these sorts of feelings when they cross over these society-imposed boundaries. I'm not saying they're not useful boundaries, but what I am saying is you don't just accept them without a second thought. Just to give you a little bit of an illustration, there was one girl who it turned out was in a long-term relationship, and I basically slept with her, and we had this magical kind of mini relationship. I only slept with her once, and we became friends afterwards, and I only learned how long her relationship was, how serious it was only afterwards. And this is the thing, girls are not going to telegraph to you what their relationship status is in such situations. If they are, they're not interested in you. But what was interesting about it is it actually seemed to, I specifically remember the conversation, it actually seemed to fortify her in the conviction that she wanted to make a life with this guy. It was quite a kind of a beautiful story for me, a very important incident in my life, because it made me see that things aren't black and white in that way. I've traditionally come from quite a conservative background where, even, goodness knows, even sleeping with someone before marriage might have been frowned on. So I think that you can't make black and white judgments about a guy who decides to have an illicit affair with a married woman. In fact, I say that it's probably more dangerous to have an affair with a woman who's not married but has got a young kid, than it has to have a relationship with someone who's married and there are no kids, for example, for obvious reasons. So what I'm saying is that the ethical boundaries are somewhat blurred in that situation. We're talking about the ethics of dating a girl where there's something else going on in her life. Now, at the kind of the other end of the scale, the boyfriend, just a boyfriend, and what attractive girl hasn't got a boyfriend? I don't think there is so much of an ethical dilemma for you as a guy. If she is seeing you and going out on dates with you, then, quite frankly, it's in a way none of your business what's going on in the rest of her life at the initial dating phase of things. And so you just, carry on as normal and don't start asking necessarily, probing for all the sorts of the complete details of her personal life. So that kind of ethical issue for me is not so much because I don't accept as absolute the rules that society has imposed on those situations, I'm afraid, or at least I'm completely happily prepared to challenge them, and I'm not prepared to challenge guys who have done it or are doing it. I used to judge them and criticise them, but that wasn't a very happy place. I'd rather be in the camp of someone who's just having fun with a married woman than I would be in the camp of those self-righteous, angry types who, bitterly attack those who are having a good time. I mean, arguably, in a dead, stale marriage, it's exactly what the girl needs. And as I say, in the example that I gave, it felt a little bit that was just exactly what she needed in order to, move on with her life and deepen her existing relationship with her boyfriend. So that, I hope, deals with, or addresses, doesn't deal with, but addresses the ethical questions. Now, the bigger problem for me is not so much, whether you should do it, but actually the practicalities and the problems of dating a married woman, someone who's in a long-term relationship, serious boyfriend, etc., especially with if they've got kids, yeah, in a relationship with kids. And I think that this problem is actually one where the guy has to be careful, because the thing is, and controversial topic coming up, men get criticised for just sleeping with a girl and then tossing her aside just for the sex, yeah? But I think women should be equally criticised for stringing along a guy, like just playing with him like cat and mouse. Because whilst the guy's kind of primary needs are, sex, in terms of having a relationship with a girl, probably any attractive girl, even the unattractive ones. And that's a primary driver, and it makes him angry and disappointed if he doesn't achieve that with the girl that he's attracted to and interested in. For women, they get their sort of sense of satisfaction and validation, I guess it is, out of the attention. They're like sunflowers, they like to bask in the sun. So they're more than happy, therefore, to not have any sex whatsoever and to let a guy just ask them out on date after date after date. Now, this can be a bit of a problem with a girl who's in a relationship, because the guy makes excuses for her. Oh, well, she's in a relationship. But nevertheless, continues to see her. So he kind of kids himself that because she's in a relationship, that's fine, they haven't had sex yet, and we'll just see how it goes, And he gets into that twilight orbiting friend zone guy. He doesn't realise that he's being used in terms of the love and attention that he's giving the girl. The simple fact of him giving her his attention. She doesn't subconsciously want to hurt him, but that guy is being hurt. He's in a dream of some future hope that will probably never happen. I've referenced a film in a previous vlog called Over Her Dead Body, where there's a subplot with the character of a gay guy who deliberately masquerades as gay so he could get to move into the apartment of the girl that he's attracted to. And that's a comedy writer exaggerating the point that I'm making for comic effect. So I think you're in very dangerous territory, not for the ethical reasons necessarily, about which I'm not prepared to, be any some sort of moral judge, for God goodness gracious sake. But the practical problems, the dangers that you face if you get into a relationship with a girl who's already in another relationship. And oh my God, I have been there, yeah? And it's very subtle and very kind of insidious the way it works. Because you're spending time in her company, and when you're close to her, you think that therefore proximity equals likelihood of sleeping with her and making her your girlfriend at some distant point in time. It's never right. It's never like this afternoon, grab her into the toilets in some grubby cafe and have sex with her there and then. It's more like, sort of a flowery vision of some future romance. It's painful talking about it because I have been there, done that, and won the Olympic medal. And the reason it's so dangerous is it just can go on for such a protracted period of time. And it's not just the pain and the time, it's the fact that during that time you're not open to other opportunities. I don't think there's a bigger warning sign I can give in the area of women and dating than if you're a guy and you are being used is not quite the right word, because it's not like a woman is doing it deliberately, but if you've fallen into that situation, then that is not a great place to be. And so I think if you're going to accuse men of just having sex with a girl, pump and dump and tossing them aside, well, you should also, if you're going to do that, play that game about guys and attack men, you should also be attacking women for the way, in a rather sort of rather painful for a guy's masculine ego to be seeing a girl and she's not ever having sex with him. Women should be criticised for not being completely honest with themselves about what they're doing to the guy, and that they're actually kind of using him for the attention. They don't really want to admit the truth of the situation to themselves, because women have very great difficulty in understanding that men and women can't be friends. So for me, to come back to this issue of relationships, whether she's married or a long-term relationship or a boyfriend, you can see that the problem there is you're in danger of being in that twilight world and kidding yourself that it's okay. This particular girl I'm particularly attracted to, she's in a relationship, but she's told me the relationship isn't working and she wants out. But she's forever constantly got an excuse not to take things forward with you. She can keep you. This is like, she can keep you in the twilight world forever. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got all these arguments, these practical excuses for not having sex with you, not having any sort of intimate relationship with you. But she's still enjoying the attention, particularly a married woman who's been, in a relationship, perhaps stuck in a relationship for some time, dissatisfied. Yeah. So, for me, on this issue of whether a girl has got a boyfriend, I do think, number one, if you're just the alpha male she's coming round to your place at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then going back to her boyfriend, partner, the next day, and never telling him about it. Well, if you are a guy who's stuck in that place, well, I'm not going to make any ethical judgments about it. My bigger concern is where a guy is in that sort of dating zone with a girl who's married or in a long-term relationship and kind of kidding himself that there's some hope that will happen one day. So now there are, and the other thing is, as a day gamer, there are, you shouldn't have so much scarcity in your life if you're regularly meeting women and dating women, such that you'd need to have that additional headache, quite frankly. It's just like, why you want that additional headache? It's just complication down the track, isn't it? I think the answer is that you've got to, if you do think that or know there's a relationship in the background, you've got to polarize quite quickly, in my view. By which I mean you've got to, is this going anywhere or not? Because if it's not going anywhere, goodbye, I'll move on to another girl. So I think that's the important thing, is if you do find yourself in that situation, and as I say, a lot of attractive women always have got a boyfriend of some description in the background, so you can't start making assessments or judgments about her situation without knowing it in detail. So all you can do is take the steps forward and look to polarize the situation and polarize her so that she makes a decision one way or the other. You know what? I think my ultimate conclusions to this topic are, it's complicated. If you want complication in your life, then okay, date a girl who's married or in a long-term relationship. If you're up for complication, good luck to you. This is a general conclusion. There will be situations, and it's often the case of life. Life is messy. There will be a girl, the one or a one, who is, unhappy in the existing relationship, and she's going to decide that you've turned up and you're the answer to her prayers. Good luck to you. But I think generally, as a general principle, you're taking this advice and putting it into practical effect in your day-to-day life, is avoid it where you can, and where it does arise, then polarize quite quickly. Make your intentions clear. If the girl is flaky, if she's playing a bit hot and cold, then fine, move on. And of course the default principle you need to apply to all situations in the dating arena is having abundance in your life, such that you diminish the weight of the problem, the importance of the problem in your life, because you've got other things going on in your life, as well as an abundance in terms of your dating life per se. So and a guy who is confident and self-respecting enough to be able to say, I've got a limited amount of time. Time is absolutely precious to me. I'd like to move on. I'm going to move on. Thank you very much, but goodbye. And not getting into a sort of a long-term, dreamy hope that one day something will happen. Don't be getting yourself into that situation, and certainly don't be masquerading as gay in order to be able to move into the apartment of a girl that you've got a long-term interest in. Okay guys, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.